Greetings and welcome to a new installment of Armored Core Requiem, the series where I take player-submitted builds and optimize them to the best of my abilities. I have been playing Armored Core 6 since it came out, and I've already created some of my own PvP builds, as well as I've upgraded some other players' builds. And so far, they have not disappointed. So if you have a build you would like me to take a look at, you can leave the share code in a comment if you are on Xbox, and you could just leave the list of parts and playstyle if you are not on Xbox. But yes, all is said, you have a good one. Now let's get on to the build. Alrighty, we've got two builds to take a look at as per usual. Both are from YouTube comments. I did a live stream constructing these builds alongside viewers of the channel. Everyone helped out to make these upgrades, as good as possible. The actual makers of the builds showed up, so they had their own personal input to make sure the build didn't steer off the path too much, and it still fit their playstyle. So yes, if you would like your builds to be featured on the Requiem series, feel free to leave a comment with all the parts, or the share code if you're on Xbox. But all said, let's begin. For our first build, we have a kiting build, a more mid-range, mid to long range with possibilities and potential at close range with our melee and our earshot. For the weapons, for our primary, we have the LRA for its range, the pulse blade for its short range, the earshot for its devastating damage on punish, so on stagger directed adjustment is nutty, as well as its stagger buildup is quite good. And then lastly, we have the Balaam Dual Missile Launcher G102. And our current assortment of parts leaves us at the boost speed threshold of 330, which is honestly quite good. It's in the upper half of speed. As well as our AP is nearly at 10,000, which is very good. Lots of survivability there. All of our defenses are over 1100, which is also very good. Our aptitude stability is at 1700. I honestly recommend anything over 1600. 1600 is really where you'll start to see big changes in how many times you get staggered per hit. For the inner parts, the booster is the Coral Booster, which is a nice all-rounder booster. Pretty decent for heavyweights as it allows them to get a lot more distance out of their boosts. Pretty alright. For FCS, we have the Max Mid-Range Assist FCS, it makes sense. We have the LRA, so we want to keep a nice distance. For the generator, we have the VE20B. This has the max energy firearm spec, which will allow us to get a lot of damage out of the LRA again. And expansion, Pulse Armor. I shall now demonstrate the main playing style and synergy of the build. Alright, so the main game plan with this build is to get height, use the earshot to start a lot of stagger, use missiles at a nice range, and then either proc stagger with your LRA into melee punish, or just keep on the run using missiles and LRA to chip them down. Preferably use the earshot to either finish off stag, use as a distant punish, and then use the pulse blade as a short range punish. As well as the melee can be used to shut down other melees coming in against you. Alright, but now let's go over the upgrades.
これが Requiem だ.
And here we are, Requiem. For the weapons, I switched out the melee for another LRA, switched out the shoulder mounts to double box missiles, and with our new assortment of parts, we are much slower, not exactly hitting the 330 speed threshold, but all of our other stats, primarily defenses, health, stability, all are much higher, much more worth it. As well as our new assortment of parts allow us to take full advantage of our inner parts. For our booster, we have the Alula, which has the second highest assault boost speed, allowing us to zoom around, assault boosting around either against or from our enemy, as well as it allows us to quick boost more often with our weight, which is kind of our trade-off with our lack of speed, or at least our lack of speed compared to what we were at before. For FCS, we have the Walt, as it has nearly the same mid-range assist with some extra assists, as we won't always be in our mid-range. The enemy will either push us, or we'll have to push them. For Generator, sadly, we had to drop the 20B for the 20C. The 20B is really hard to build around, especially if you want a really good build. You have to go very light with not many energy weapons, and to have double LRA on a bipedal with decent movement speed and some extra weaponry, this is kind of what we have to run, which ultimately is not bad. It is still the second highest energy firearm spec in the game, so we're still going to see massive damage out of it. And for expansion, keeping Pulse Armor. And now I'll quickly go over the playstyle / strategy with this new build. Alright, so the playstyle of this build is fairly simple, especially compared to the last one. We just switch to our missiles, fire them away, probably want to delay the shots in between, but as you can see, if they all land, that's an instant stagger on most builds, I guess. But yeah, it offers a decent synergy of constantly switching to these box missiles, but probably spread up your fire a little bit just so they don't dodge both with just dodge one. Fire away, preferably don't overheat your rifles just so they come back a bit quicker, or you can just consistently fire them. Waiting for them to fully cool down is a bit awkward. But yeah, if the enemy gets too close for comfort, we can always use our assault boost speed with the Alula booster to boost away. Make sure we land out, don't burn down the gen all the way, and it will recharge super fast. Very nice. Yeah, our damage with these are nuts, especially on direct hit adjustment. And with our FCS, we can primarily stay within a 130 to 260 meter threshold, or distance, to keep our max aim pure, indubitably. But yes, now we shall go over the other build, and after we'll do a PvP test where we pit both versions of each build against each other, the Requiems versus the Priors. Alrighty, we have another earshot ranged build, this time a quad. I don't think I've ever worked on a quad of Requiem before, but here we go. For our first weapon, we have the Harris for its range potential and its incredible stagger buildup on its charge attack. The Daisy grenade launcher for its insane power, its splash damage as well as normal damage is pretty nuts, as it is a lengthy reload grenade launcher, quite heavy as well. Definitely need to run this on a quad with all the other weaponry we have. The 70 VPM plasma missile launcher for its insane just guidance. It tends to always land unless of course there's a roof above the enemy. Yeah, its tracking is nuts. It's very reliable for building up some stun at range, and as it is plasma, some decent damage. And lastly, the earshot, which we already covered. Its splash damage and directed adjustment is mighty. And the parts are focused on just being as durable as possible. Our aptitude stability is at 2400, AP over 12,000. Our boost speed is at the least it can be at the 250 threshold, but I suppose that is not really the main concern of this build. Mainly just be tanky, use the hover legs to fire all these grenade launchers and the Harris without actually getting staggered, because if you use its actual hover mode, you will not, much like if you are in tank treads, you will not stagger whenever you go to fire one of these weapons. You'll just keep moving. For boosters, we have the Brizzle, the max assault boost booster in the game, which allows us to close the distance with other kiters, rats, or anyone that's trying to keep a range from us. The Walt FCS for its pretty much all-roundedness, as well as medium range, which I guess we would be in, since we have all-ranged weapons for the most part. And the Coral Generator, which is very nice to pair with the Brizzle Boost, as it allows us to boost far away, preferably in the air, and as we're falling down, preferably kind of hovering down, it will allow the Coral Gen to refill completely, and then we keep going. And expansion, Pulse Armor. Alright, let's quickly go over the synergy of this build. Alright, so the game plan is go and hover over the enemy, fire missiles, charge the Harris, shoot our first grenade launcher, and with all combined, stagger them, and hit them with the earshot for punish for big damage. And then kind of just rinse and repeat. More or less just fire missiles, Harris whenever we can, and Zooks. And of course, if they get too close for comfort, boost away, absolutely drain the generator itself, and it should come back at a nice time where we can just kind of keep repeating it over and over and over. Make sure we're always hovering by the time we shoot, so we will not stop for anything. Alright, and that is the base build. Let's go over the upgrades.
これがレクイエムだ。
Alright, so I actually have, or me and the chat, we ended up creating 2 Requiem variants. This one, which is a minor upgrade, switching out some weapons and parts, just mainly taking the main concept and just choosing weapons and parts that will just make the combo more achievable and more consistent. And then the other version, which kind of overhauls the whole thing and potentially making a stronger variant. So when we do the PvP test, I'll actually have this version of the build, considering it's just a more or less upgrade of the previous with not much else interference, versus the other theoretically much more improved version. So we'll go over both of those and then we'll do the PvP test. For the weapons, I ended up switching out the Harris for the Curtis. The Curtis does pretty much less damage but is faster, as where the Harris is slower but stronger. This will allow us to still proc our stance break after we shoot them with our grenade launcher. So the overall combo remains true. We just do a little bit less damage, but we can fire more charge shots out of the Curtis before it overheats, opposed to the one from the Harris. Ended up switching out the Dizzy for the Majestic. The Majestic is becoming very popular, potentially the best bazooka in the game. Its reload is nice, its damage is good, its splash damage isn't as good, but it's lighter, comes back quicker, and yeah, it does the same amount of stagger. Well, technically not the same amount, but it more or less will have the same results, just a bit quicker, much like the Curtis with the Harris in this particular combo. Shoulder mounts did not change, as these don't need to. These are pretty much the best that they can be. The earshot is just mighty when it comes to its directed adjustment punish. For the main parts, not much change other than like the arms and stuff. There's not much need to be changed. We just can buff down a little more defenses since we're already at the 250 threshold. We don't really need to worry about speed, just as much tankiness as possible with defenses and some good balances between recoil and firearm specialization. For the inner parts, keeping the Brizzle, switching out the FCS to the Tailbot as it's mainly, it excels in the close and mid-range more than the all-rounder of the Walt, as these are the two ranges we are really going to be in with our current setup. There's really no spacing and kiting with most builds. We're going to be a little too slow for that. Sure, we have our Bristle boost with our core gen, but that's not really enough to kite on enemies. It's really just for getting away if we need to, and chasing down anyone that wants to run. Mainly for chasing down, less about keeping a good distance. And keeping the expansion as pulse armor. And yeah, the combo remains the same, just hover, missiles, bazooka, Curtis into earshot, it all works the same. So now we go over the second variant of Requiem. And here it is, our big boy. For this variant, we abandoned the linear rifle and bazooka for dual Zimmermans for their insane stagger. Switched out the shoulder weapons for the LCS laser cannons. These are insane. Probably going to get nerfed in some recent patches. They are very, very good. And with our hovering capabilities of quads, we can fire them without stopping. Parts, not much change other than the arms again, just for more tankiness, because now we're using Zimmermans. We don't really need any type of recoil control or firearm spec. Not really anyway. For inner parts, keeping the Brizzle so they can always chase down our opponents and get them in our ideal range of using our shotguns and LCSs. Keeping the FCS as it works in our range for both weapons, as well as the generator, as it has pretty decent energy firearm spec. And pulse armor. The main idea of this build is a really simple assault boost in, preferably shotgun to get the bonus off of the assault boost, about 30% extra stag bonus, and just kind of alternate between the two of running in for kicks, get the guaranteed Zimmerman off, maybe go hover mode so that you don't actually stun off of your LCS shots, although obviously hovering will more or less keep you at a decent distance, which is nice if you want to use your LCSs a lot. But obviously at a range your Zimmermans will become less effective. So it's better to kind of just assault boost in a lot, go for kicks, go for lots of Zimmermans into LCSs, into more Zimmermans, over and over and over. Kind of like a spam playstyle. The more comfortable you get with alternating between the two, the better it will be. But yeah, very straightforward, very aggressive type build. Yeah, pure powerhouse. Nothing, not too much thought behind it. Yep, those are the builds. Now we shall do a final PvP test. I'm going to try to get someone to pilot the previous versions of the builds, and I will pilot the Requiem variants, and we shall go head to head and see what the outcome is like to determine which build is superior. Alrighty, I got some help. I volunteer from the Armored Core Fight Club Discord, Mr. Senpai himself. He is a big figure in the server, a very good PvP player, and overall a cool dude. So yes, we shall do the PvP test with both builds. Senpai will be using the original variants of the builds, and I will be using the Requiem. We shall duke it out to see which build performs better. As well, after the PvP test, one more little bonus segment. I will be showing off a lightweight build that someone left a comment asking for a build, not to be Requiem, but a concept itself to be brought to life. A lightweight using the, or not a lightweight, a very, well, basically a lightweight, a lightning fast build using the Coral Rifle with some missiles. So I'll be bringing that concept to life after the PvP test. Alrighty, build 1. Oh no. We shall test to see if the upgrades are indeed warranted.
That's cool.
Good luck, you two.
Hell yeah.
Good luck.
God, I'm lining this.
Remember, you have Pulse Armor as your expansion.
Yeah.
So do I. Just like these. Not too bad. I mean, at 4k health, so not too shabby.
I can follow my AP bar when I'm fighting against lasers. I don't know why.
I see, I see.
I'm just like,
give me
oh,
those.
I'm not getting staggered. I'm fine.
Yeah, exactly. I know what you mean. Yeah. Spooky. Oh yeah, barely the
GG.
missiles came down to the wire.
Yeah, those missiles really.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just
Very
a pain to be at such a
engaging.
range, but have a melee instead of something else to aid you, like another missile launcher or another rifle. Alright, build two Requiems fighting. This is a first. Let's see which one is better. The original formula, just enhanced, or a completely new stew? We shall
That's
see.
scary build.
It is quite
That's really
devious.
scary. That's like the meta pipettes right now, but on steroids.
Yeah, pretty much. You kick me? Oh, I kick you. I also have some loose coral gem, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just a mean combo.
Yeah.
There is like no way around that.
Yeah, it's
Two
a bit
totally
painful
different.
too.
But hey, it works well.
That's true. Doesn't take the most brain power to operate, but it does work.
This is so fucking powerful.
It's just a DPS.
I can't run
right?
away from you and.
Cute.
Oh god.
It's just a
Yeah.
DPS race, just two quads up against each other, hitting until they're dead. Hell yeah, why not? Alrighty, and there we have it. Requiem shines through. Big thank you to Senpai for helping me out with the test. Couldn't have done it without you, man. And thank you so much for watching. Now let's show off the lightweight build, or the lightning fast coral rifle build. And here we are. Here's the first variant of the build with the instructions given. We got missiles, the coral rifle on a very fast build, the fastest I could make it with adding weapons to really aid the coral rifle. The coral rifle on its own really isn't that great, in PvP anyway. And it's quite heavy, so you need to pair with some other weapons, which is going to bring down the weight a lot. So you need to be incredibly light, with using pretty much only the coral rifle if you want to be really light and fast, lightweight. But if we throw on the wheelchair legs, we remain we keep a lot of our speed, as well as our tankiness can be built upon. and our weapons arsenal can be varied as we wish. So yeah, as instructed, the Kuro rifle is the mainstay of this build. We have the Curtis for stagger buildup, as well as our missiles are the vertical plasma missiles for more stagger buildup, as well as some decent damage. Part assortment, Mind Beta to cancel out or to aid in the aptitude stability loss from the wheelchair legs. Core and arms for health and firearm spec, as well as recoil control. No specialized booster because you can't have them with the wheelchair legs. FCS prioritizing range in mid and close. And the Santai generator for its amazing capacity, recharge, and yeah, we're not going to be using the Coral Gen because we don't really need to be in the air a lot. Being on the ground is very strong with the wheelchairs, as would make sense, so we can recharge very fast with the Santai. And expansion pulse armor, so that even if we get staggered, we can just pop it and continue on the move. Alright, so the main playstyle of this build is trying to break the stagger of the opponent and then punish with the Coral rifle, as Coral does insane direct hit adjustment. As well as with the Coral rifle, you don't want to let it charge up twice to get the beam, you just want it to charge once to get the charge shot. Either the charge shot or just continuous normal shots, which can also aid to break the stagger. So it's fire missiles, you charge shots out the Curtis, and unlike the Harris, you can have to shoot multiple before it overheats. And then yeah, just dump in with the Coral rifle to do as much damage as you can. And since we have the wheelchair, we can always move while firing these charge shots with no downtime. So yeah, should serve you well in your, preferably, it serves you well in your expectations. If not, do let me know if you want me to take a look at this build again and optimize it any further off of input. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. But that is about it. See ya.